Thank you. I've been at a lot of school board meetings and I've never gotten to do that, so I just figured I'd get a few cracks in. Temporarily, I'll be sitting in the president's seat tonight until we elect our officers this evening. So I will call this meeting to order. Crosby, would you please do the roll call?
Jason.
Here.
Mike.
Here.
Jake.
Here.
Jim.
Here.
Eric.
Here.
Carolyn.
Here.
Craig.
Here.
Crosby here.
All right, this meeting has been properly noticed. Would everybody stand and join me in the pledge? All right, our first order of business this evening will be to select officers for the board. Just to clarify, the board president position is vacant. We do have the president, the vice president, the treasurer, and the clerk listed as possible action tonight. But if the president is selected to the president's position and they're not a current officer of the board, we will not be selecting a new vice president, a new treasurer, or a new clerk, just to make that clear for everybody. So, this being the first order of business, is the election of an officer. The state of Wisconsin requires the Mukwonago Area School Board to reorganize, elect officers annually. This must take place on or before the fourth Monday in April and within a set time limit of 30 days. I will proceed with the election of the president, and then the president will take over the meeting. It's important to note that we have a vacancy, and the vacancy was the president, which is why we're in this reorganization again. So it's important to note that when you vote for board officers, you'll have four choices as to how to do it. We can do it by typical voice vote, we can do it by show of hands, we can do it by roll call, or we can do it by secret ballot. This is the one time you can do it by secret ballot. Board, how would you like to proceed?
Show of hands. Show of hands.
Show of hands, okay? All right, we'll do it by show of hands. Then any school board member can nominate another school board member. You can also nominate yourself. You can vote for yourself. Once nominated, I will ask the board member who has been nominated if they would like to serve in the position. Next, I will need to have a majority of votes of board members present. Tonight, we have 8 board members. Thus, if you want to be elected president, you have to have at least 5 votes. I will ask for nominations now. I will ask 3 times, and then I will close nominations. So I'm starting with the school board president. Do we have any nominations for board president?
I nominate Craig Verts.
Second.
Craig, would you be interested in serving in that position?
I would.
Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Seeing that there are none, would all in favor of Craig being the president, please raise your hand. Nobody opposed? Thank you. Laura, do you have that recorded?
No, I didn't catch who seconded it.
Jim did. All right, we had motion, second, we had vote for Craig, 8-0 for Craig to be president. Thank you.
Do I have to move?
Yep, you gotta move now.
Thanks, Mike. Move that back.
Gotta turn your mic on though.
Oh, thank you. So, per what you just said, Joe, we do not have to go through we have to go through we're good there?
We're good now. We have a president, and the
Okay.
president is not a,
Officer.
the president was not a
Gotcha.
sitting officer, so we don't need the other positions voted on.
Okay, thank you. Recognitions, Joe?
Thank you. We have a couple recognitions this evening. We had some generous donations come in. First, I would like to recognize the Rolling Hills Elementary School PTO for donating $53,368 towards the construction of a pavilion at Rolling Hills Elementary School. We thank them for all their hard work and fundraising and the dedication that they have to making Rolling Hills the wonderful school that it is. The second donation that we have tonight is from from Aaron Cooler. Aaron donated a car to the Autos book value of the vehicle was $2,925, and the donation will ultimately benefit our skilled trade students at Mukwonago High School. We want to acknowledge that no other goods or services were returned for the donation. So we're very grateful for this generous donation to our high school outdoors program.
Aaron is a teacher at our high school, so he's one of ours.
Hey, just a quick point. He's going to use that letter for possibly for tax exempt stuff, but you don't have,
She?
or she, sorry. There's no last name, so I don't know if you have to make it official by adding the last name.
I'll add it if needed.
Thanks.
We'll take care of it.
Do we want to ask more people to do that publicly? It's a great deal, right?
Anybody who has a donation, I would encourage them to work directly with Christine Perkins if it's going to go to one of our trades programs to see if it fits right into where the program is at. But this was very generous and very timely for our autos program.
Citizens' comments. Carolyn?
No citizens' comments tonight?
Presentations, revised school district logos, and an update on our social media partnership. Hi, Ben.
Hi. I make sure the microphone is on here, so thank you. Good evening. It was about a year ago that I came to you with a proposal to shift our social media work with a vendor, an external vendor that works with dozens of districts around the state. And so it's a timely opportunity to come and share with you some updates and then talk about some other branding work that we've done around the district as well. So let's get to it. So first of all, you may remember the vendor that we work with is called Social School for EDU. And again, they work with dozens of schools, primarily throughout Wisconsin, to help increase their school district's reach and promoting the great things that we're doing. We have a lot of amazing things going on in this district. We have outstanding teachers and kids who are doing great things. And one of our goals through this partnership was to really increase the visibility of those things. The other part of that was we consolidated our social media accounts. We went from each building having their own account plus a district account to closing those down and really trying to get everything concentrated under one umbrella, one Mukwonago, if you will. And so you can see some data. Of course, I'm coming to you with some data tonight. And particularly, I'm going to have you look at that first bullet around our Facebook followers. So if we look since we began working with Social School for EDU in August, we saw an increase of just over 1,770 followers. That's a number from last week. It's about a 50% increase, which is really incredible. We're over 5,600 followers. I cannot promise a 50% year-over-year gain in future years, but in this first year, clearly a lot of people have been attracted to our Facebook page, which is outstanding. Instagram is not as high traffic a tool that we use, but you can see we've seen a nice increase there as well. And when you put those two together, since September, we've had about a 39% increase combined. That is outstanding. But it's not just about followers. It's not just about getting people to look at our website. It's also, or our Facebook and social media, it's about getting them to engage. Whether you know it or not, when you like a post or you share a post or you comment a post, that ends up with people that your friends, your followers can also see those things as well. So there's a twofold piece that we were looking for. And so first of all, not only did we increase our followers, but we also increased the overall number of views that we had, people seeing things that we post. If you go back to last May, we had about 37,000 views, which for a district our size is really not all that good. This past May, we had over 500,000, about 600,000, a little more than 600,000 views, which is absolutely incredible. And within that, we had over 70,000 unique viewers. So that's above and beyond the 56,000 or so followers that we have. That means that the followers of our followers were seeing things that were shared and liked and commented on, like the videos that we've had posted or photos of kids doing really amazing things, some of the videos that we've posted. And we expect those numbers to continue to trend upward. So by any metric that we look at, we are just very pleased with this work and this partnership. it has accomplished everything that we have wanted it to do and more, and I think we are excited to see this work continue to grow. One thing I want to follow up with on this is a big thank you to our staff. I know sometimes we have staff that watch the board meetings, and if they are listening or if they follow the recording, I definitely want to say thank you to them. This cannot work without their support, without their submissions of videos, images, and just sharing some of the really great things that they're doing in their classrooms. People like to see their kids doing great things, and if the teachers aren't sharing it, we can't post it. So they have done some amazing work with this, and we will continue to look at how we can engage with that going into next school year. Now, that said, it came with some unexpected positives, and I know I've shared some of these just via email with you over the course of the school year, but one unusual place that we got some additional visibility was the Waukesha Freeman. They picked up a number of the social media posts over the course of the year and created little featurettes in the Freeman around some of the neat things going on in our district as well. So not only were we able to share more within our community, but it went further. It went into local print media. Of course, the Freeman's got a digital presence as well, both in terms of their online newspaper and their social media accounts. Some of these were shared there as well, which was a great unexpected benefit of this too. So not only were we promoting the great things about the Mukwonago Area School District within our own social media, we had some media sources that were doing some of our work for us as well and sharing these things too. So I was pretty excited about that. And again, education's a competitive marketplace nowadays. We have a lot of great things going on in this district. It's really great to be able to brag on our students and staff and to show some of these really neat things that we have going on. So moving on to the branding piece, this is a project I've been working on pretty much since fall. In my communications role, one of the things that's been a challenge over the last few years is the fact that we don't necessarily have the most modernized versions of graphics and logos ready to go. That's not a huge deal for the most part, but there are times when we need those images really up to date. Not only that, we've noticed some unique idiosyncrasies. For example, a lot of our schools that had blue in their color scheme might have a slightly different blue between them. And if we're one district, if we are one school district, typically we would want that blue to run as a theme through all of those schools, starting with our high school and kind of filtering their way down. So with the work that we're doing around our new middle school, particularly with Bray Architects, they have been doing some of our branding work internal to the new middle school. I reached out to see if they would be willing to use their graphic designers to help with some of this work, because that's an area of expertise that I don't necessarily have. Fortunately, they were very willing to do it. They did it at no additional cost to us, which is free is great when it's really good work. And they set off working on modernizing our logos, kind of creating some singular color schemes and branding guidelines that would result in a set of print and web-ready files for us to be able to use. So it doesn't seem like the most important work maybe on the outside in, but internally, this will be very helpful as we look at getting these things onto our website, social media, letterhead, print, you name it. So I want to share with you some of that work tonight. So these are the district branding guidelines that we will be rolling forward with in moving forward. Again, not big changes here. You can see we still have the triangle for our district logo, just kind of modernizing the fonts that we have there, going to all caps around students, staff, and community, kind of that little bit of a lean in the taglines and in the district names that we have there. I think these turned out really nicely. It's a subtle change. It's not an enormous change, which we did not want. We just wanted something to kind of modernize what we have. They also did a social media icon for us, which we'll put in place on our Facebook and Instagram pages as well, along with very specific color codes, both for print on the left, and then digital on the left and Pantone for the print on the right. You'd be surprised how many different colors are out there, and those codes are pretty important. So we want to be able to maintain that sort of singular district branding across all of our schools and different pieces. And then I mentioned the logos, and we did not do anything wild here at all. We wanted to maintain a lot of what we had, with one exception, which you can probably already see up there, and I'll go through them. Big Bend underwent a bit of a logo modification a couple of years ago. It was a lot of hand-drawn kind of work still and kind of individually created logo. We brought that kind of up to a modern look, had them refine some of the curves and the edges on the Big Bend Bulldog. Clarendon was the one that had the biggest change, and even in my days as principal there, I heard a lot about how mean and scary the cougar looked. So their team requested that we get a little bit more of an elementary-centric, little friendlier cougar. Went through a couple different variations before we landed on that one, which I really like. You still get the essence of the Clarendon cougar, but a little happier, a little friendlier kind of looking creature there. Eagleville, not really a big change, added just a little bit of that district blue in there, again, part of the district, and rounded off the top of the logo. Prairie View didn't really have much of a change at all, just some cleanup work that you wouldn't necessarily notice. Same thing with the high school. There really wasn't a lot of work there. I'll note that there are actually two versions of the M. That fast M, there's kind of that flat version that stays parallel to the horizontal, and then there's one that's looking kind of angled up as well, which I don't have on the screen here, but will be available. The M is a good one to point out as well. Like there's an alternate color scheme that goes with that too, where the blue and the gold are kind of inverse. Again, I wasn't going to include every logo that we have on here, but that one was revised along with some of the other ones that we use there as well. Again, keeping the essence of what we already had. Parkview looks really familiar. We're just updating that color scheme. They were the root of all of this, where all this work began. Rolling Hills just had a new logo in the not so distant past, so theirs is pretty much the same. And Section looks very similar. There's just some modernization of the font and some cleanup of the logo there as well. So nothing too scary here, but I wanted to make you aware of this because you'll start to see these showing up in different places as we move forward. And I'll be getting these out to staff and in our shared drives as well. So with that, any questions from you about either the social media
Rick.
or about the branding?
So I have two things actually. So I see a lot on Facebook regarding like the athletic programs. So they still have their own sites. Is that something we're kind of reeling in so they can all go through the one, or what are we doing with that?
So there's two different groups of athletic sites. I'd say like Andy Trudell has the Mukwonago Athletics, like the big umbrella one, and then there are all sorts of other little Facebook and other social media accounts out there that I cannot even remotely begin to wrangle. So we've talked about it in the past. We are trying to limit those as best we can, but it's really hard because there are accounts out there that I don't even know exist at this point. There might be private groups and things like that. We have policy in place to try and minimize the use of those as well, but big answer to your question is the athletics Facebook page will stay in place. That's an important one. Supports a subsection of what we do, and then those other smaller ones we'll try to knock out as best we can moving forward, but they serve a little bit of a different purpose too.
Okay, and then my other question, Mukwonago High School, and maybe I missed a memo, but they're still the Indians, right? Because everything I see, like when I get swag emails and all that stuff, it's always the M. Is the Indian getting like secretly erased behind the scenes, or like what are we doing?
Nope, not at all.
So for the high school, it should be the Indians, right?
I believe we have an Indian in that logo set as well that we cleaned up as well, because actually the Indian logo that we have is pretty old, but they use a couple of different logos there as well. I brought the one that we use, probably our primary logo, but that Indian logo is still there as well.
Sure.
And
Okay.
Andy Trudell, for a lot of the gear, Andy Trudell does have the Indian head as part of the gear package if you want to order sweatshirts, T-shirts, whatever it might
Sometimes.
be. Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Yep. But
Not always.
where-
Sure.
But the answer, the big answer is no, we're not eradicating that right now behind the scenes, not at all.
Okay.
It's there.
Crosby.
So I was opposed to the partnership, and I will say that I am happy to be wrong. I think that it's been a very positive thing. Still not super happy with the cost, but I do think that we are getting to where we wanted to be. So I'm very happy to be wrong on that.
I will be 100% honest. When Joe first brought this to me, because he picked this up at a conference, I was skeptical too. I'm not a cynic anymore. This has been well worth our time and energy and money on this as well. They are doing work that we simply could not do in-house as well as they're doing it. So yeah, I'm right there with you, and I'm as excited as you are as well.
Yep.
Anybody else?
Jason's got.
Jason.
Is the branding done by the same group that we're doing the social media with, or is that a different?
Nope, that's a different group. So Bray Architects has their own in-house, so Bray Architects has done they've done all of our design work for the new middle school project. And there is internal kind of branding within the building, kind of like what we have with the high school from the renovation there as well. They have their own graphic design team, high-quality individuals. They do amazing work. I just literally asked, I said, hey, are you interested in being able to pick this up? You're doing a lot of work for us. It makes sense in line. And again, they picked it up, and now our social media team will use some of that moving forward. But no, this was through Bray Architects, a different company.
Anybody else? Carolyn?
I was a skeptic too, but I emailed you about it and tail tucked. Yeah, love it. I'm glad we're also implementing and following through on this. So we're not just paying somebody and saying, I hope it works. I love seeing your drive with this. So thank you for spearheading this and making it what you're doing. Awesome.
100% welcome, and I'm glad it's working out too.
Thanks, Ben.
Thank you. Have a good night.
End of the year nursing report.
All right, Noelle Mengi is here tonight, our district nurse. She is going to present some of the end of the year data that we have. She's going to review medications administered, health room visits, vaccination rates, and some celebrations around Project Adam. I want to recognize that our system would not run as seamlessly as it does without our health room assistants and Noelle's leadership. If you all recall, she was hired 2 weeks before COVID started. So she has stuck with us all this time, and I'm thrilled to have her here tonight.
Hi, Noelle.
Thank you. All right, so we're gonna jump right in.
Noelle, can you talk into the microphone, please? Thank you.
Better?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not used to talking about data. I'm kind of nervous. So, I'm used to, helping kids in the health room. But we can jump right in with.
Well, you have to talk to the microphone because people are watching on. Thank you. Sorry. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Let's jump right in with health room visits. So, on the slide, actually, we're going to go through typical treatments and medications administered in the health rooms. So these are like our typical everyday visits, whether it's medication or if it's maybe like a diabetic checking their blood sugar numbers, or if it's a student who maybe needs to have like a bathroom plan, things like that. Those are like our everyday normal treatments and medications. Also medications such as like something that someone would take after lunchtime, so something someone would take in the morning right when they get to school. Things like that are normal everyday treatments. Total health room visits looks like a lot because it is a lot, and we even tried to decrease this number this year, and I thought we were doing really good until we pulled the numbers and it was not better than last year. So we are still working at decreasing some of these numbers. I don't really want to go through all the numbers. If you want to look at the numbers and ask me any questions, I feel like the elementary levels are seeing anywhere from 10 to 14% of students every day, which is a lot.
I think one of the trends we noticed too is that our schools with 4K sites have more health room visits. So just looking ahead to this upcoming school year when we have 10 sections in the district, really looking at the parameters around what they're going to play on and putting some things in place so that we're not increasing our health room visits astronomically.
And I was actually subbing at Big Ben the other day, and I was talking with Greg, the principal there, and trying to see, like, how are we seeing this many kids a day, right? Like, what's legit, what's not? Are these all okay to be seen? So I feel like we kind of have been problem solving as to what can we do to make things better so that not this many kids are being seen in the health room, especially after recesses, like when, let's just say 5 boys come walking in laughing and they all got hurt. Maybe we can decrease some of that to actual injuries that we can see, or again, just problem solve how we can make that decreased. All right. Any questions right away on the health room visits before we jump into like vaccinations.
I just have a quick question. Are we tracking the types of visits? Like you said, you have the kids that come in laughing and you're like, I know you're fine. Are tracking those types of things? Not just the fakers, but we've got the upset tummy, we've got a fever, we've got a legit orthopedic injury. Do those get tracked in any sort of way that we could start to look at trends?
Yeah, so every visit has a complication. So we can pull what type of complication. Was it an injury? Was it a sickness, stomach ache, sore throat, congestion, whatever it might be. So you can pull the reports as to what's all coming in. So yeah, just a lot of looking at things.
Okay.
So, looking at Parkview, that was a success story in terms of reducing visits. Do we know?
So the health
Why?
assistant there has been putting in place with teachers, like every teacher has Band-Aids in their room. Every teacher calls her before they send a student to the health room. So there's just certain little things that she kind of put in place that I feel like have really helped decrease that number. I thought the high school did the same thing, but like looking at it, it did a little bit. So, I mean, some of those, again, are just those little things. Even the Band-Aids in the classroom are a huge thing.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. Vaccination compliance. So every year, every school district in Wisconsin needs to submit a report on the 40th day of school regarding vaccinated children and not who's vaccinated, but how many students are vaccinated versus not vaccinated. You have to have 99% compliance or higher to not exclude people from school. So that 99% is not just vaccinated, it's also students that have waivers. So you have the option to waive vaccines as well for religious, medical, or personal conviction. So as long as we hear from a parent and get their signature as to why they are not getting vaccines or their medical records of vaccines, then we get to 99% or higher. And the health assistants work very
Noel,
hard.
are
to do
measles
this.
kind of something we're looking at a little more these days?
No, we're not looking at it here.
Okay.
Yes, it is being tracked by the state and things like that, but nothing in our district, so. All right, next, Project Adam. So Project Adam is kind of a program in memory of Adam Lamal, who had cardiac arrest while he was playing basketball, and his parents made this organization that's now nationwide. He was from Wisconsin, and he did die. So this organization put together, it's called the Project Adam Heart Safe Schools. So there's a whole criteria that you have to go through with each school in order to get certified. So that includes running drills, like if someone were to have cardiac arrest, whether it be a visitor, a student, another adult in the building, whatever it might be. So we kind of go through those scenarios and run drills, and then you become certified, which 4 of our schools are now certified. Every school does have an emergency action plan, but not everyone does run drills. And the schools that are certified has nothing to do with like who I like the best. It just happened to work out that those were the ones that were easier, I guess, convenient, and more time was being able to be spent there to do that. So hopefully by the end of next year, every school can run at least a drill and get certified at some point.
Tom, can you advance a slide? So this photo is just the schools that we have done so far and have completed their training to become certified.
I got a question. What does that mean to be certified as a school? Every teacher? Only a few people? Like, what does that
Yeah, so
constitute?
when you're certified, you have a medical team. So it's just the medical team, the staff. I have a PowerPoint that we hope to send out to teachers, like what would you do in emergency? Do you know where your AED is? But the Project Adam itself just is considered of the medical response team. So it's usually like, those are all the individuals that are on the medical response teams at each school. So Eagleville, for instance, like it's almost their whole staff because you need to work with who you have in the building. So all of them can help. Everyone at every school can help, but Eagleville's just smaller, so it's got a bigger team. Rolling Hills, I mean, we had about 10 people, Parkview about 10 as well.
All right, but if a bunch more people want to get trained, they can get trained. Because
Absolutely.
obviously, the more people in the school, I mean, if the only person who's trained is at the other end of the building, you know, time is of the essence kind of thing.
Absolutely, yeah. And I was working with Officer Kirkpatrick at the high school as to how we can train more people. Like, Mukwonago High School is huge. So if it's way on the other end of the building, like you said, who's going to help in that meantime? So looking at who wants to help, right? Like, get the team together and see who can come from which direction to help out in a situation.
All right, sorry, last question. How long does it take to train someone or a group of people? 20 minutes, hours, what?
That's a good question.
I'm not trying to put you on a
Like if
spot.
you
I'm
were-
just,
no,
when
that's
I was
fine.
in the military, like they trained all of us on the base, and I don't remember how long the training was. I feel like it was like 10 minutes or something.
Right, like you could do it in like an hour, right? If you're gonna have everyone CPR certified, that's different, right? That's like a 4 or 5 hour program itself. But just to have the plan in front of you and know what to do, it would not take 4 hours.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Are there state or federal requirements for having people on site at every school that are CPR first aid certified?
I don't really know the state law.
Yeah, we have to have emergency nursing services on hand, and that then would include people who are CPR first aid trained.
So do you have, and if you don't know this, it's fine, but how many people, like off the top of your head, do we have in each building that could do care if needed?
Every coach in our district has CPR certification,
Right.
so I believe there are coaches in every single one, but I could get that information and get back to you as far as the percent of employees we have.
Well, I mean, I know the WA requires it for coaching, but I was just thinking emergencies happen in the buildings too. It would probably be a really good idea to have more people in the building who can handle those.
Sure, we have been offering the CPR training in-house, but it's just gotten really big. So we're actually going to bring back in the Heart Association to come back in next year and to start continuing those trainings.
All the PE teachers are also certified.
Okay.
So if something were to happen in a gym class or something like that, they're right there.
Okay.
Tom, can you advance the slide? So the last part here is just looking at our strategic goals for 26-27. So our goal is to have every building certified as Project Adam next year. So we have 4 done. We have 4 more to go. We're going to continue to look at our health room visits. So the things that Prairie View has put into place, the things that MHS has put into place, we want to obviously copy that and implement it at all of our buildings. So at the beginning of the school year, we met with the administrative team to talk about, you know, what are kids really going to the health room for and really starting to educate. And I think we did that good at the start of the school year, and then things get kind of busy and hectic, and then something we need to go back to. So we will continue to work on that. And then also just parent contacts. So developing more of a streamlined system for efficient parent communication. So one of the things we noticed this year is we started pulling the data around if a student had been in the health room more than 10 times in a month, like what does that look like with the communication home? I found that if they're just stopping sometimes for, you know, a Band-Aid or another snack or whatever it might be, parents have no idea the kids are in the health room. And so just making sure that we are in communication. So our student services staff have been working with Noelle and the health room assistants to start to tackle some of our high flyers. Anything else you wanted to add, Noelle?
No, that's it, unless you have any questions.
Thank you very much, Noelle.
You're welcome.
Next up is update on Veterans Memorial Project.
Thank you. Kurt Wiebelhaus is here tonight to talk us through this a little bit. as the board voted a while back to allow the Veterans Memorial to be moved from what was its location to the Parkview Middle School site, we have engaged Bray Architects in, kind of laying that out. Kurt's worked with JP Cullen to get some bidding estimates as to the cost of this project. We've been in contact with the American Legion and the VFW. As there's a big fundraising component that they have to do. We're bringing forward, though, just an update to the board tonight, something that we would need to seek approval on from you in a week or so. But we do believe it's something that would help the progress on this site, and it would also get it laid out in a manner that, one, would enhance the Parkview property, and then it would also keep it so that whenever the fundraising is done for this particular memorial, we would be ready to assume the monuments on our property. So go ahead, Kurt, if you want to.
Thank you.
Hey, Kurt, by the way, your daughter was great yesterday at graduation.
Well, thank you. Yeah, she takes after her mother. Yes, thanks for having me. Wanted just to really show this revised site plan that incorporates a Veterans Memorial at the intersection of very appropriate Veterans Way and Highway 83. As Mr. Cook, Dr. Cook had referenced, that we've been working with both the VFW and the American Legion since the beginning of the year, or even back in late 2025, just talking about this concept with the police station where it used to be, with that property being expanded and the old memorial being taken down. Thought this would be a very appropriate for both honoring veterans, but also enhancing the Parkview site. So what you're looking at on the screen is we always had a pathway from that intersection to the building. This represents an expanded pathway that also includes the memorial. Tom, if you go to the next slide, it kind of shows the what it was prior and what it is now. Actually, yeah, that slide right there. So on the bottom left, that was the original. So when you looked at the site plan, the bottom left represented that walking path. And so as we had discussions with the veterans group, we had Bray provide a concept of what it would look like to incorporate a memorial in that. So we expanded the walkway, we added colored concrete, and then there's also some footings and foundations to support those monuments. So, and then changed how that bench on the bottom right there, the orientation of that bench, how it sits in relation to that monument. So, Tom, if you go to the next slide. This is in a top left is kind of is an elevation. So up on that top left, it's a pretty substantial monument, granite monument that would be about 20 feet long and about 18 inches thick. That would be the primary monument, and then leading up to that, so as you're walking up to that monument, if you're coming from the intersection, you would bypass granite pillars that would represent each branch of the military in there. So there'd be the 6 pillars, and then as you walk up, you'd get to the larger monument with names on that. And incorporated in this would have illumination, so at night you'd have lighting as well. So it's really a well-designed space that, like I said, honors the veterans, but also enhances that overall aesthetics and appearance of the building, whether you're driving by or whether you're walking up to the building. So where we're at right now is veterans, the VFW and the American Legion. We had asked them to put a written plan together of how would you guys fundraise to cover the cost of these monuments. And so they put that plan together early in the year, and then they're in a process of executing with the goal of having that fundraising complete in September of 2027. So right at the time that we complete the project and open the building for the complete building in August of 27. So that's their target. From a funding aspect, the way we're looking at this is the veterans group raising the money for the monuments themselves. And so total cost of this project, we initially went out and when we looked at the concept, it was about $550,000. We've since refined that design, and right now we're about $490,000. So about half of that cost is the monument structures itself, and the other half of that cost is expanding the walkway, the colored concrete, the foundations, the illumination are related to that. And so with them raising the monument, taking the monument portion, that could happen if they don't hit their target of September of 2027, right? That can happen at any point. So the idea is the district would be taking on the flat work, the enlarged walkway, the color, the lights, and all that, everything that really should get done as part of construction. And if we'll continue to check in with the veterans group, and if they're on target and everything comes together like we hope it does, this will all be completed at the same time. But by structuring it this way of they take the monuments, we take the rest, it allows us the flexibility that could happen later on. So our plan is, one, we need to get this concept approved through the village. So that is in process right now, working with the village, and there'll be a hearing, and the plan commission will have to look at this again from what they originally looked at and provide an approval there. And then for the veterans group, our target is December of 26 or January, really to check in with them of saying, how are you coming along with your $250,000 fundraising effort? And if they are on track and we're comfortable, we would go ahead and order that granite. So by the time it's made and can get installed, it'll get installed at the same time as everything else. If they aren't on track, we'll put the brakes on ordering that, and that would happen later on. So that's the funding plan from the veteran side. The funding plan from the district side to capture this is through bidding that as we bid this project out, and we took a portion of this project and went back out and found additional savings. That's how we're going to cover the district portion as far as widening it, the colored concrete, the lighting, and the foundations. We'll cover that cost. So this isn't costing any additional as far as the overall budget that we have. We're still doing with this within the overall budget of the project yet. A couple more slides. If you go to the next sheet.
Could I just ask something on that? So just to be clear what you said for whoever's watching this, if there was no monument plan, we'd have sidewalks and stuff going in there, and there's no additional cost to our district.
It's within the budget that we had set for the project already, right? So because we had bid savings, we're using those bid savings to cover this cost.
Okay.
Yep.
Thanks.
So this is a pretty picture of the rendering of what it would look like as if you are standing with your back to the building and you're facing the intersection. So that larger monument on the left, and my label on there is step 2, meaning that if the fundraising efforts of the veterans don't come to fruition like they're hoping, that would get set later on whenever they fundraise for it. Ideally, like I said, that would happen at the same time as everything else. The bench on the right-hand side, that would get captured as part of our work, which there always was a bench. If you look at the original plan, there always was a bench. It was just a different orientation, so we rotated this orientation in conjunction with the monument. And then as you continue walking down that path, that's where you'd find the 6 pillars that represent each branch of the Army. And the flag poles were part of the original project as well. And I think there's one more slide. Yeah, maybe zoom in a little bit if you can. But this one is if you're up in the air above the intersection of Veterans Way and Highway 83 and looking towards the building, you can kind of see how that pathway comes together, and then the experience you'd have as you'd be walking down and hitting each of those pillars, again with illumination, and then the bench and the larger monument there. Any questions?
Eric?
With the village displacing the old monument, are they offering any funds to help erect the new one?
That question, I don't know if the veterans have asked that question yet. I know as we were working through the process of the approvals, I hinted towards them that the veterans will probably be asking that question to either reduce fees along with the approval process or not. But as far as I know, that discussion hasn't happened, or I haven't heard that they are helping with the actual cost of the monuments themselves.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Jeff Semero did contact me as far as the American Legion rep that's helping raise the money for this. And funny enough, it reminds me of Ben, because Facebook has been their biggest draw, or the biggest, way to contact people. So Jeff Semero, if you want to donate some money, okay. Thank you. Thanks, Kurt.
Do we know how their fundraising is going? Have we heard from them at all?
They had to go through a series of steps. I believe, correct me, anybody who knows, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there's an American Legion fund, like it's a charitable fund, and they were working to get connected to the American Legion fund so that they could essentially have that 501c3 connection to do the fundraising. I have not heard a dollar amount update. I did hear that they were pledged a number of larger donations, $10,000 in nature, but I don't have a dollar amount as to where they're at in this project yet.
Since they're kind of part of our building project, can we share anything through our social media outlets about the fundraising?
I've begged those guys to get me whatever they have, and they've been pretty good about it. We're just not scheduled to have a meeting at this point. But we will help them with that push through our Facebook, our Instagram, and anybody who's got personal Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever's out there, we can get that and we can start to blast that out for people to make donations.
Okay.
Thanks, Crosby. Thanks, Kurt.
Thank you.
Next up is Skirts Framework. Christine.
Katie Johnson, a teacher at MHS in our special education department. I'm sure many of you know her. And Jen Tyson, elementary program support coordinator, are presenting tonight on the CERTS framework. So we've been committed to this work for a couple of years now. Our students have made some significant progress with communication and language development. This work is in alignment with our district belief that every student can grow and can be successful. Hope you enjoy what you see tonight. We have a couple of videos embedded, and it's great to see firsthand the work we've been doing.
Now I'm off. Okay, sorry. So I'm just going to go over a couple of numbers regarding our students with IEPs in the district. So currently we have 666 students in the district that have IEPs. And of those, 69 of those IEPs are students that are qualified under the educational autism label. So that's over 10%, or right around 10% of our students that have educational autism. We also currently provide accommodations through 504s to 359 students. So some of those students may be students who have a medical disability of autism that don't meet the criteria for educational autism. However, they still have some of the same characteristics of students with autism, so this also serves for those students as well. It also does not include students who have a medical diagnosis of autism who may be serviced through the significant developmental delay or other health impairments. So there likely are more students with autism, which is what I'm trying to get at. So because of that, our response was that using the Stronger Connections grant, we had the opportunity to bring the co-author of the CERTS model. She's an international speaker who specializes in autism spectrum disorders. Her name is Emily Rubin. She came last August and trained 100 staff members in the district. It was open to all staff. So we had learning strategists, classroom teachers, special education paras, regular education paras, as well as some administrators that were able to come to that training. And it's been super successful. So after that, we picked 5 students. There were 3 elementary students that were picked that had autism and 2 secondary students. And then those groups of people went through coaching with Emily Rubin. So we met 5 times throughout the year. Staff were provided with coaching. They sent in videos ahead of time, and then we met on our professional development days virtually with Emily Rubin. And she provided coaching and really helped our staff better equip themselves to service our students with autism. So upcoming for this summer, we are offering an additional 3-day training. So as of right now, we have over 40 people signed up for that training. Some of those people are only coming for the 3rd day because they've already attended the first 2 days last summer. And then we have some people that weren't able to attend last summer that are going to be coming for the full 3-day training this summer. We're also partnering with some neighboring districts to offer that opportunity for those districts to also come in and hear from Emily Rubin. So I'll just briefly explain the CERTS framework, and then I'm going to hand it over to Katie, who has really been working with one of her high school students using the CERTS framework. So CERTS stands for Social Communication, Emotional Regulation, and Transactional Supports. So social communication is how our students are communicating, and it's combined of joint attention, so how they're able to attend with other communication partners, as well as symbol use. So that's kind of like how they're communicating. So they might be verbal communicators, they may use augmentative communication or some sort of a picture to help them communicate. Emotional regulation is broken down into self-regulation. So what are some things that they can do to help keep themselves regulated? And then mutual regulation. So what are things that they need somebody else to help them be able to regulate? So that might be offering a break or offering a fidget or offering to go for a walk. And then the last piece is the transactional supports, and that's what we're doing as staff members to help support our students with autism. So you're gonna see some of the transactional supports that Katie's team at the high school have put into place for a student to really help her grow her communication system.
Well, it's my pleasure to share 2 videos that highlight the success that we've experienced through implementing the CERTS framework. My team chose to choose this particular student because her story demonstrates how powerful the framework can be. Although she is verbal, and you'll see in the second video that she has strong verbal language skills, when she becomes dysregulated, like she's anxious, nervous, upset, she lacks the ability to talk and to be a communication partner. And one of the biggest challenges for us is that her dysregulation isn't always visible or obvious. And so without a reliable way to communicate how she's feeling or what support she needs, she would often shut down and disengage from instruction. And this occurred pretty frequently. So as we began to implement CERTS, we introduced a variety of low-tech symbols and visual supports to help her with her emotional regulation. And we quickly realized that she needed a more robust communication system. And so with the guidance and expertise of Sarah Wright, our speech and language pathologist, we introduced ProLoquo. It's an augmentative and alternative communication app on a dedicated device that you can see in front of you there. Almost immediately, our student recognized that even when she was dysregulated, she could still participate and communicate using her iPad. And within a matter of weeks, she was customizing communication boards to include academic content, language that allowed her to express herself more fully, and even share out her personal interests, which are planes and Pegasus. She began using the device not only to demonstrate her academic knowledge, but also to advocate for herself, to communicate her needs, to connect with her peers, and even share her sense of humor. So this first video was captured during our vocational development class with my teaching partner, Ashley Rofers, while students were exploring jobs in the community as a warm-up. As you watch, I hope you notice how she independently uses a combination of typing, search features for words, and pre-programmed buttons to complete the activity, all without speaking a single word. So prior to implementing CERTS and providing this communication support, she would likely have remained silent and disengaged from this lesson, but instead she's actively participating and demonstrating her knowledge.
Can you play the video? Thank you.
So you would like to work with groceries. What business could you work at? love it. What are some responsibilities you might have to do? What might you have to do if you worked at Pick and Save? I love that you're looking at places on your iPad. Do you know how to get to like jobs or tasks?
Social worker.
Ooh, worker. I saw that you saw worker. Yeah. Hmm. We're using the search. Awesome.
Walmart. Johnson, what movie are you watching tonight? Task transition time.
Hmm. Interesting. Is that what you want to say? Yes? What does a task transition time do at Pick and Save? Maybe look at, okay. You're looking for O? C? Okay, there you go. Yeah, we don't really have that verb in there. Maybe we should add that, right? Because that stock is different than stocking, right? But yes, that is a great example of something you should do. We'll definitely add that. I'll write a note to do that. And what's something that might be hard for you to do if you were a stocker at Pick and Save? It might be hard. Yeah, there's a lot of food there, right? It would make me hungry too. Great work. That was amazing.
So I also appreciate that she didn't have all the words in her device, and she was given that device maybe 2 weeks prior to that video being captured. So one of the other key principles of CERTS is creating highly motivating opportunities that encourage authentic social communication. So the second video is one that I hope you enjoy as much as I did when I captured it. In this activity, students wrote compliments for one another as part of our Kindness Theme Valentine's Day project. And because she's emotionally regulated at this moment, she does not choose to use her communication device and instead reads the compliments aloud. But what makes this moment particularly meaningful is that she has shared with us in the past that being the center of attention can make her very uncomfortable and gives her extreme anxiety. And receiving compliments is not something she typically enjoys either. Yet, as she reads these messages from her peers, you can see that her confidence starts to grow, and so does her joy. And by the end, she addresses the entire class to share her appreciation. So for me, this moment captures exactly what CERTS is about. It creates the support students need so that they can connect, communicate, and fully participate in their school community. I think it's a wonderful example of what we can do when we focus not only on academic success, but also on communication, emotional regulation, and building those meaningful relationships.
What did I say about you?
Strong.
Yeah, I would agree with that. What else?
Kind.
Kind. Aw.
Brave.
Brave.
But I was also trying to walk out. Smart.
You are a smart cookie.
You worked so hard.
Oh,
Aww.
that's a good one.
I love you are a great friend.
That is such a nice thing to say. Anywhere else?
Okay, my heart is broken right now.
Your heart's broken because
Yeah.
it's bursted so much that it broke?
Yeah. My heart's broken.
That's hilarious.
You're making me flustered.
Guys, you make me have my heart broken.
Because it's just bursting?
All right, so that was just one of the students that we were able to coach this year with Emily Rubin. Like I said, we coached another student at the middle school. We coached one at Section, one at Prairie View, and one at Rolling Hills. And we would have videos to show of all of those students doing some really great work because of the way that the teachers have now provided more visuals, more opportunities for engagement. And it's just been very successful for our staff and students. So, any questions?
Great work.
Yeah,
That was awesome.
very, very cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, ladies.
Next up is the consent agenda, approval of the school board meeting minutes of May 18th, 2026. Any discussion? Hearing none, approved. H, finance and facilities topics. Tom?
All right, the first thing that we have is approving the student fee schedule for 26-27. So just bear with me here. I will pull it up on the screen here. So the schedule is the same thing that we bring back to you every year. What you see on the screen right now, what's in blue, is what has been updated since last year. So by and large, really, we'll talk about lunch fees. That's one area where, costs, as we all know from going to the grocery store, are going up here. So we are proposing a 5-cent increase on the daily lunch rate for our elementary lunch, 10 cents for our middle school. And then at the high school, we're asking for permission here to move somewhat in a different direction. I'll explain the reasons why between what a tier 1 and tier 2 lunch is. So right now, we have one standard lunch, one standard price, and we're proposing for that to be our tier 1 lunch, which is 10 cents, a 10-cent increase to $3.85. We are proposing here to use a tier 2 option, which is we have a number of food options available each day. And I'm just going to read some information here. So to provide some description here, tier 2 meal price would include those items described as bars or customizable meals. For example, when we serve nacho bar, students can get 1 serving of tortilla chips, but then they can add 1 serving of beef or 1 serving of chicken plus cheese, beans, rice, corn, lettuce, tomatoes, shredded cheese, olives, jalapenos, etc. So when you are creating a lunch from a bar style, you're adding a lot of food to your plate. So with that, it exceeds like the standard portion size. So we're simply asking for permission here to create a tier 2 lunch, which would be $4, but there would be more food that is coming with that above and beyond the standard tier. Beyond that, then for fees for the Technology Partnership Program, this is a MHS program where we provide a Chromebook to every 9th through 12th grade student. We buy the Chromebook. The families that participate, which is all, they pay half of the cost over a 4-year period. So if a Chromebook is $600 currently, the family would pay for half of that $600, $75 per year for a total of 4 years, and then that Chromebook would belong to them. The reflection and updating in price there is just simply to capture the actual cost of the Chromebook itself here. We just have a little bit of a footnote there for AP tests are reduced to $53 for anyone who qualifies for free and reduced lunch. And that's it. Those are the changes. Sorry, there's one more here. Summer school fees. So we're proposing to add summer school fees for non-residents, so students who open and enroll into our program. Currently, we don't charge for students who are in our Summer Adventures program at the K-6 level or for those who take courses at the 7th through 12th grade level here. So for residents who live here, their taxes naturally pay into the school district. It's free for them. For somebody who does not live in our district that wants to get into our summer school program, we're proposing these fees starting effective next year. Everybody's registered at this point. We're not looking to make this change here right now as we get close to summer school here in the coming days. So as far as student fees go, are there any questions I can answer for you?
Why'd the AP fees go down? Is there a greater subsidy through the government, or did the college board? It's hard to believe that they would lower cost.
So the actual fee for a standard test is just a pass-through cost. We're not like marking it up or profiting or generating revenue. If you look right here, the AP test is $99 per test. We're just simply clarifying that the $53 is there for free and reduced students. That has always been the case. We just added that detail so anyone looking at this knows that.
Got it.
Any other questions? Okay. from there, then what's next? I'm sorry, I don't have the agenda right in front of me.
Preliminary budget.
Preliminary budget, okay. So we did a lot of work behind the scenes here. We're coming to you tonight to present the preliminary budget. I'm going to keep it on, everybody has a handout here at the board, at the table here for the budget here, but on the second page or so, you'll see something that says 26-27 preliminary budget with all of our funds one by one from Fund 10 down through Fund 80. So you'll see that on the screen right now. I'm just going to walk through this real quickly and answer any questions that you might have. I'm going to go fund by fund and take a couple minutes here to explain this. We will present this information at the annual meeting here. When we present this information, this is in a standard format that a DPI asks us to do here. If I just go left to right here with these columns here, we have our beginning fund balance for 26-27. These values that I have in this column simply represent if we executed our 25-26 budget to the dollar in every fund, this is the fund balance position we would have in each of those funds. Now, we aren't even to June 30th yet, so we are far from finalizing these numbers. I just plugged in as, for the purpose of this exhibit, what our fund balance would look like if we perfectly hit our budget. Our beginning fund balance and our ending fund balance on the far right here are just kind of hypotheticals. What I really want to do is draw your attention here to the middle two columns here. So the 26-27 budgeted revenues, I'm just going to hide this and hide the ending fund balance. So fund by fund, Fund 10, that's the general fund. That's the majority of where all of our funds are at. There's a perfectly balanced budget there with $68.3 million in and $63.8 million out. So when we look at the net position, we see that we're balanced. I'm going to jump down to Fund 27 as well, special education. We separate those costs out. We track those costs. We are reimbursed for a portion of those costs there, and you can see that we are also balanced in Fund 27 as well. So all of our students are educated either from Fund 10 or Fund 27, and we are balanced there. Okay? Now I'll just kind of go right up, Fund 21, and I'll just give a quick explanation as to what the fund is. Donations and student activity funds. So think of any student activity group, marching band, choir, football. They fundraise funds, or we get donations from people that will say, here's $3,000, or the PTO donates $50,000 for a gazebo, or outdoor pavilion, excuse me. We are balanced there. So our money in and our money out is staying balanced there. In our referendum fund, we need to levy about $7.2 million. This is the year when repayment of Parkview Middle School comes online. We are showing $15,000 of revenues in excess of expenditures, which reflects simply interest earnings on funds that are deposited, okay? In Fund 41 and Fund 46, you can see that we are setting funds aside in those two funds. All of our funds in the 40s here that I have highlighted are all dedicated towards our buildings. I'll just jump quickly down to Fund 49, and that's where we deposit the $89.1 million for the middle school project. You can see we have one remaining $7 million borrow that we haven't done yet. We'll do that later this summer. We anticipate $2 million of interest earnings on top of that for a total of $9 million of revenues that will occur during 26-27, and then we will expend the remainder of those funds, okay? Because of we are, Fund 46, we are proposing that $190,000 in revenues. This reflects interest income and the annual fees we are getting from our scoreboard sponsors. As we receive those dollars from the sponsors, we're taking those dollars and setting them aside and accumulating those for when the eventual replacement of items and components in the scoreboard need to be updated, okay? As far as our capital expansion, this is really a maintenance fund, okay? This should read capital expansion and maintenance. Because of the way that we worded our question in Fund 49 with the referendum question, if we are under budget and we can address district-wide capital projects, the Fund 49 question we asked and passed in November 2024 allows for that. So we are able to, essentially what I'm saying is we are able to set the standard tax levy we put into Fund 41 of $800,000 plus $25,000 of interest income, and we are working towards making sure that our district will have all the funds needed to address our long-term building needs, but we are able to put money in and not take it out and grow a fund balance there. So when the next school board comes down the road and the next administration is here in 10 years or whenever that might be, the district is going to be better. We're going to leave it better than we found it. Okay? In food service here, we have a small decrease, a use of fund balance, where we have 2.8 million in revenues and 29,000 more in expenses. This is just a small reflection of the one-time food service equipment that we talked about last time with the steamers and combination ovens to improve the quality of food at the elementary schools. With the remaining funds then, we have a balanced scholarship fund, so we have interest income, we have donations, and as we receive those donations, we award those donations in the forms of scholarships, and we're staying balanced there. In Fund 73, we have frozen the growth of this teaching post-retirement benefits. We have enough money in that account where we don't need to continue to add more, but as teachers who are eligible for this retire, such as this year's current class of retirees, they will begin to draw down on those funds, and as all of our liabilities expire, so will the revenues that support them. And some years down the road, there will be no dollars in that account and no liabilities that are due from that account. And then lastly, we have Fund 80, which is where we have a small community education program and our school resource officers, which we are balanced. So in a high-level overview, if I just show you real quick here, we have $68.3 million in Fund 10. All right. In your packet there, you'll see that you have all the funds segregated out. This value here will match what we are showing here in our budgeted revenues. And I know there's a lot of detail here. I'm not going to take you through all of that detail, but all the supporting information, fund by fund, can be found just on that particular fund's revenues and expenses that are being showed. But it is all summarized here for you with the budgeted revenues and expenditures. Do you have any questions I can answer for you? I know that's a lot of stuff. We've taken a lot of steps over the last several months with reductions of personnel to make sure that we are balanced. I'd say the biggest thing I would advise you to do is to make sure that in Fund 10 that we are balanced. This current year, 25-26, is the one year where we adopted a deficit budget for a one-time school safety purchase. We had the fund balance to do that. We've never adopted another negative budget in my 10 years here. So we adopted a goal here back in January of saying, let's build a balanced budget, and we have it. And I'm confident that we will land this budget as we are planning it right now.
Anybody? Thank you, Tom.
Good work, Tom.
All right. There's a lot of work from all the folks here, my teammates at the table here with us tonight. So
Tax levy.
Okay, then tax levy here. So this is, we'll go through this here. I'm going to try to keep this as simple, but with answering, the why behind everything here. So I'm going to work in this right-hand column for 26-27. This is our preliminary tax levy. Okay, you can find this at the bottom of that of page 2 of what I gave you all, but I'm going to give you a little bit more detail right here, and I'll make this a little bit bigger here as well. Okay, with the 85 student decrease on our third Friday count, our 3-year average will go down. I'm sorry, let me just stop moving it here. I apologize. Our 3-year average will go down to 44.39. If that's our 3-year average, we multiply that by 11,975. You can see we're moving from 11,650 to 11,975. That's a 2.9% in a per student funding increase. That 325 is a 2.9% increase. The basic revenue limit formula says Mukwonago Area School District and the school board between state aid and property taxes can get $53.157 million. Now there's a few adjustments we're going to add to that right here, okay? So to that, we are going to add $350,000. This comes from the April 2016. There's a second question on that ballot for an additional $350,000 per year for 20 years. That's to pay for the expanded square footage for utility costs at Mukwonago High School when that project was built. We have a declining enrollment exemption because of the fact that we are losing students at this time. This is the state's funding mechanism to say, hey, we're going to give you access to $1.1 million, but this is your last call on this money. Last year, we recognized that value as $1 million, and we went through the work of reducing our staffing to make sure we were right size for the students here. We will have to do that work again unless we get an awesome surprise that we're growing on the third Friday counts, but I simply don't anticipate that at this time. So we are able to add a declining enrollment exemption of $1.1 million in a last time manner. And then we are also going to add $1.9 million, almost $2 million, for private voucher students. You can see that each and every year, the money that goes into this program, we are adding this almost $2 million to our pot of money, but we don't see this money. We tax for it, and we just send it on to the schools that are in this program. That's not us. We have a little bit of this other pot here, which is really just for students who start off as open enrollees. They move here and their status changes. So this other line just kind of accounts for a little bit of odds and ends. But as we add our basic revenue limit mathematics, along with these adjustments I'm highlighting, we have a pot of $56.6 million. You as a school board cannot levy between state aid and property taxes amount that adds up more than that. State aid, we are estimating, is going to be $26.7 million. So of this $56.6 million, state aid is saying we will take $26.7 million of that on and pass off the remainder as your operating levy. You can see state aid from year to year went to $28.9 million in 24-25, down to $27.8, down yet again to $26.7. I have a graph here that I'd like to just bring up here very quickly. This graph kind of shows you this is the revenue limit with the adjustments. The state aid is saying we'll take on $28.9 million of that amount. Here in the current school year, 25-26, you can see the blue bar is the total revenue limit. State aid is less than that. And 26-27, this blue bar grows ever so slightly, but state aid again continues to walk down. So state aid is trailing off, okay? That is putting more pressure on property taxpayers. That is affecting school districts throughout the state of Wisconsin. All right? There's one other graphic I just want to share with you here. I think this one kind of captures it best. So of the revenue limit formula, whatever that number is, you can see that property taxes are going to contribute, but first state aid is going to take its share. So once state aid pours in whatever amount each district gets, property taxes has to fill the rest. If state aid becomes smaller and smaller and that green area gets lower and lower, the blue part, the property taxes, is going to fill that. So as state aid walks back, property taxes fills that void. We are not an exception to that. Like I said, that's all school districts throughout Wisconsin. Okay, so that is you can see our operating levy has gone from 25.8 to 28.1 to 29.9. All right? The state aid going down is the driving reason why. We have 3 tax levies. Tax levy 1 is our operating levy. We just walked through that. There's our 29.9. Tax levy 2 is the referendum levy. You can see we are levying a steady $6.2, $6.3 million a year to pay off the high school project. Now that the middle school is online, we will levy $7.2 million each year for the next 20. Our community service tax levy for the school resource officers will stay flat. The total proposed levy is $37.3 million. That is a 7.9% increase. I wish I had better news for everybody right now. I just simply don't. But this is where it is right now. This is preliminary. This is my guesstimate. We cannot finalize this until October. Okay, we will know what our state aid is on October 15th. And then we'll finalize our tax levy in the following board meeting. But this is the preliminary tax levy that is behind the scenes. So when you take a look at when you look at Fund 10 in particular, and I'll make this a little bit bigger, you'll see that the very first revenue that we get, source 211, property taxes, and let me make that even bigger here. This is where the property tax shows up. 29.1 million is our biggest source of revenue. And if we scroll down to source 621, state aid, that's the next biggest source. If you add those two up, that's 85% of our budget. The revenue limit is the most important thing to us and to every public school district in the state. Okay? It would be nice if I took you back here to this. If state aid would say, hey, that budget, I want to call it budget repair bill, but that's Tony Evers, Devin LeMahieu, and Robin Voss compromise. They were going to put more. This green area was going to increase. That was going to take everybody's individual property tax bill and draw it back. State aid would say, hey, we're going to step in and fill this void. Obviously, that didn't work out yet. I hold out a little bit of hope. Hopefully something, I hear that's not completely dead, but we'll see. But that is the tax levy right now. Any questions I can answer for anybody right now?
Eric?
Tom, what other states in a similar situation?
What other states?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Just curious if Wisconsin just sucks.
I don't pay attention to like too many other states here, to be very candid. Joe?
Yeah, I mean, across the country, state funding towards education is different state by state.
Sure.
You know,
Joe, talk in the microphone, please.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks. State funding is different, it's different by state. There are some states that run countywide school districts, and those counties have the ability to levy taxes at a higher rate and spread that out. When you look at our referendum debt, there are some states that locally they build the referendum projects into sales tax, and there's a portion of the sales tax that goes into a state pot that a school district can tap into based off of their local contribution. So for smaller projects, like if we need to do $10 million for roofs, $10 million, you wouldn't have to go back to the taxpayer and say, give me, we need $10 million from you. It's already built into that state funding piece. There are states that are like us that are in similar positions, and a lot of it is just based off of birth rate around the country. I mean, Tom's, the biggest driver in there is the number of pupils that we have. If you go to, in Waukesha County, our birth rate has been on the decline. If you go to Dane County, the birth rate and the move-in rate has been on the increase. And so they're building school after school after school there. While in Waukesha County, we're looking at, what reductions can we make? So a lot of it is enrollment driven. Where you're getting population boom, you're getting more growth in funding.
So Eric, I'm going to just add one thing onto that. I'm trying to find a piece of that. I think in March, as part of one of the presentations, I had noted that Wisconsin was once the 10th best state in terms of student investment. That's going back to 2002 or 2003. We're now 26. We're less than the national average. So it's kind of a systemic when the biennial budget, when that is built. The 325 that we're getting is getting that was frozen for almost 10 years, where it was like $0 or $75 a year. After a little more than a decade of that, and then the state is saying even whatever that amount is, we're not chipping in anymore. It's a tough deal. Like, again, I feel like apologizing because I wish I had some great things to share in this regard, but that's where the truth lies right now.
Good, Eric.
That's all I got.
Thanks, Tom. Next up, student learning topics, curriculum recommendation for 4K.
Yeah, so we have two items tonight related to curriculum renewal work. The first is in regards to our work on 4K curriculum and a resource recommendation. Michelle has been spearheading this work, so she is here tonight, and she's going to walk us through the work and the recommendation.
All right, so as Angela mentioned, I'm here tonight to give you information about the process the 4K teachers and I used to choose a 4K resource that we would like to recommend to the board for approval for next school year. Okay, so as you know, we have a structured process in place whenever we have a curriculum adoption cycle that's up. As Angela and I started the process for our K-5 literacy adoption last year, we grouped our 4K teachers in with the K through second grade timeline. During that time, the 4K teachers and I evaluated our current resource, which is Starfall. We agreed unanimously that this was not a resource that we felt met our instructional priorities, and so we agreed that we were going to look at different resources. Through the use of Starfall, we've had to, through our research, pull in other resources such as Hegarty, Handwriting Without Tears, and then a few years ago when Colleen Hoyne was still in this position, she took some teachers to CESA 6, and they were trained in both shared and emergent reading. So we knew that when we were up for renewal, we were going to be searching for a different resource. Then in November, the school board approved us expanding our 4K program for next school year, which means that we will have 7 new full-day classrooms. And so to be fiscally responsible, we would like to purchase the new resource for next school year because we do need a curriculum for these 7 new classrooms. And obviously it doesn't make a lot of sense to purchase our current resource that we know we don't love and doesn't align to our instructional priorities. And so we decided that as a 4K team, we could really dig deeply into the resource until we found one that we felt confident enough that we could implement next school year. So on May 22nd, which was our last professional development day, I did bring a group of teachers together. Now, prior to this, over the last 2 years, we have been doing research. So we looked at a lot of 4K resources. We brought in vendors from Wonders, Pinecone Path, Amplify CKLA, Super Kids, Benchmark Advance. Those were the ones that we actually kind of weeded out because they didn't align with the priorities. One of the #1 things that we were looking for is something that's comprehensive. So it would have literacy, math, all of the center's activities, things like that. A lot of the resources that I listed were solely for literacy. So we would have to purchase that, but then in addition to that, we would have to get a math curriculum and some of the other pieces. So we tried to eliminate things like that. And then what we did was, through our evaluation process, I narrowed it down to, with the teachers, the top 3. And those were Connect for Learning, and then a resource called Creative Curriculum, but they pair with Kickstart Literacy. So those 2 components, and then Every Child Ready. So on May 22nd, I spent the entire day, the professional development day, with the 4K teachers who are assigned to teach 4K next school year. So in that group, we have a powerhouse group of teachers. 3 of them currently teach kindergarten, and next year we'll be teaching 4K. 1 of them teaches 1st grade. 1 of them is a special education teacher, and the rest were already teaching 4K. So in that room, we had so much knowledge. We knew from the kindergarten perspective what we're looking for that will pair nicely with kindergarten and what the expectations are when you walk into kindergarten. It was great having a learning strategist there. And then we also invited a handful of our speech and language teachers. So on May 22nd, they were there with us as well. Unfortunately, they left for the last presentation, which is the one that we're actually really excited about and want to move forward with. So I did email them all the information and have gotten nothing but positive responses back from the speech and language teachers about the curriculum, Every Child Ready. 100% of the teachers that were there that day voted that they would like to move forward with Every Child Ready, and they were absolutely delighted to spend the second half of the day digging into the resource. So we have a demo account that if any of you would like access to, I'd be more than happy to give you access to that. And so we really were able to dig in. They're so excited. The energy in the room was amazing. And so the things that we looked for, obviously comprehensive, aligned to the science of reading, aligned to our Wisconsin standards for 4K, and then developmentally appropriate. A lot of the other resources that we looked at had themes that we just didn't feel were super appropriate for our 4-year-olds. One of them spent 6 weeks talking about the coral reef. We were like, they'll be fascinated with that for maybe a week or 2, but that was just a really long time. So we looked at this. We thought Every Child Ready had short units. The themes are really tailored for 4-year-olds. And then one of the most important things is we want our 4K program to be very play-based. So all of the centers that the kids rotate through, we wanted them to have the experience of learning through play. So a typical day in the 4K classroom. So there's a morning meeting, there's a routine every day. They start their day off with something called a welcome wiggles, which is basically just greeting the kids, doing a little share time at the beginning. They dance, they sing. Then every day they do a lesson called Helpful Hearts, which basically teaches the kids the rules of the classroom, how do we interact, how do we play nicely, what are some calming strategies we can use, like deep breathing, starfish breathing, and how to be a good classmate and friend. It also teaches gratitude. It teaches them to be thankful and to thank the people throughout their day, so when they go to specials and things like that. That's then followed up with super sounds, which again is part of our science of reading, having that phonological awareness component. And then they have calendar time, which is part of daily connection. Then throughout the day, there are centers. All of the centers come with lesson plans and ideas for the teachers. And then that's also partnered with small group instruction. So while the kids are rotating through all the different centers, the teachers can pull small groups together and work with them on targeted things. Every single day there are 2 read alouds. So in the AM and the PM, there's read alouds. And the read alouds are used to teach vocabulary, to have the kids interact with listening comprehension. They learn problem solving skills. And then that's the time of day that they learn concepts of print. So they know how to hold a book properly, that we read from left to right, what an illustration is, who the author is, what the cover of a book is, all of those types of things. They also get lunch and recess. They have rest time in 4K. And then they have specials built into their day. So twice a week for 30 minutes, they'll get art and music. And then they get 1 30-minute chunk of time for library. And then right now we're working with our principals to see if we can still manage to fit PE in once a week as well. Any questions so far? Okay. The cost. All right. So the curriculum costs $44,200. This is for 13 4K classrooms. So we have the 10 that are housed in our buildings, our elementary schools, and then we still have 3 of our half-day community partner sites, and we supply the curriculum for those classrooms. So it'll be 13 4K classrooms. The lesson plans include 11 units, so there's 11 different themes. One of the best parts, I think, of this curriculum is that there are 147 picture books. So if you think about going to the library, there's this program where it's 1,000 books before kindergarten. Right there in our 4K program, the kids would have access to at least 147 picture books just through this resource. The teachers get digital access to everything through that cost, and then we have posters and cards and things that they put up in the classroom, so that's included. We are going to bring the 4K teachers in for 1 full day of training, and that cost is $4,000. And then I wish I could brag and say that I negotiated something magical, but they, from the start, offered us $0 for shipping. I actually wrote them and said, can you just clarify for me? And so that, they must have, I wouldn't put it past them. But that is rare. So I do want to point that out. And I didn't do anything magical to get that, but I'm very grateful that that's where we landed. So the total cost for this would be $48,200.
Call it the Jake factor, the free shipping.
So basically next steps would be taking this for board approval next Monday, and then pending board approval, we would order the resource and bring the teachers in July for that training, and then also offer a parent night so the parents could come in and preview the resource one night in the summer as well. So, any questions?
Jason.
If I want to get access to that demo, do I just email you?
Yeah, just email me and I'll send it to you via email.
I got a question. Mike, is that a one-time cost, or is that every year?
So there's no workbooks or consumables, because for 4K, the only thing that teachers would need to technically print would be if they wanted to do handwriting paper, because there is a handwriting component, but there otherwise are no worksheets or consumables.
So this can last us some amount of years before we have to go again. All right, thanks.
Yes.
Anybody else?
And then I did review, because like I said, there's 147 picture books, so I started to review those titles, and that is linked in the document that I shared out in the board updates. And I also read every one of the morning routine components of the lessons, and I made notes as well. So nothing concerning, but I just wanted you to know that that's all included in the document I shared. All right.
One last quick one.
Go, Mike.
Like, what's the average size of a 4K classroom?
We do not go above 22 students in the classrooms.
Thanks.
Yes.
Thank you for the exciting demonstration. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So then the second item that we have is an update on our kindergarten through 2nd grade and Eagleville literacy pilot. So Tom's pulling that up for us. Michelle and I are going to go through this for you. Next slide. Do you have the clicker, Michelle?
Sorry.
Can you click for me?
Sure can.
Okay, so you just saw this. Over the last 2 years, we have been working on our elementary literacy. This is obviously a critical area, so we've really been taking our time with this. We started our research in the 24-25 school year, and it was at that time that we decided to slow down our K-2 process a little bit, and there were really 2 reasons for that. First, we had a very strong resource. We currently use Super Kids, and that is a strong resource and has worked really well for us. And then the other reason is that Super Kids has revised their curriculum, and it was not completed yet. So we wanted to make sure that we could take a close look at that. So we slowed down our process a little bit with K2. So our kindergarten through second grade team has been researching for the last 2 years, and then they are going to be piloting next year. Next slide. So over those 2 years of research, we have really dug into research around best practices. We created thorough look-fors for what we are looking for in a resource, and we have reviewed numerous resources. You can see on the screen all of the resources that we have really dug into. Some of these we dug into with the 3rd through 5th grade teachers. So in the 24-25 school year, all of those that you see on the screen, with the exception of Super Kids, because it was not ready, we had vendors come out and present, and we really dug into those resources. And then last year, we had additional vendor presentations for the first 3 that you see bolded there on the screen for our K2 research team, and then they dug into those a little bit more. Next. So our process for really reviewing these resources, in addition to the work that was done in 24-25, our K2 team participated in the 3rd through 5th grade resource decision process. So 3rd through 5th grade had piloted 2 of those resources that we just talked about. And so our K2 team sat down with them and really dug into what they saw when they piloted those resources. We then narrowed the list down to the top 3 for K2, again, based on our look-fors. And those 3 resources were Amplify CKLA, Super Kids, and then Benchmark Advance. The coaches and Michelle completed a very deep dive of these resources for the K2 level. And then our K2 research team heard vendor presentations from those top 3 resources and really dug into those. So then based on that, they selected 2 resources that best aligned with what we were looking for to pilot, and that is Amplify CKLA, which is going to be implemented next year for 3rd through 5th grade, and then Super Kids, which we currently have. All right, so when we look at our actual pilot design, when doing our pilot, we always try to be very thoughtful. And we try to really look at 2 things. One being the impact that a pilot has on our students and our teachers. When we are piloting new materials, obviously teachers have to learn new things, and then students also have to transition between different materials. So we want to be very thoughtful about that. And then the second thing that we really want to think about is the feedback from our teachers. So when we did our 3rd through 5th grade pilot, we did do a survey of our teachers and get some feedback from them on the structure of our pilot, and there were 2 major themes from them. One of them was that they felt it was very important to pilot as a team. So in the past, sometimes we have just asked for volunteers, and then you might have a 2nd grade team at a school where only one person is piloting the materials. The feedback was very clear that they felt it important to pilot the materials as a whole team. The second thing that the teachers said is that even though it is difficult to transition between resources, it is really helpful to pilot both resources that they're looking at. When they only pilot one, they find it a little more difficult to compare. So for this K2 pilot, we have a unique opportunity. We have typically really looked at, as I said before, that student impact, and so we don't want teachers piloting more than one thing. However, in this case, Super Kids is a familiar resource. It's something they already know. The structure is pretty much the same. It just has some revisions to it. So we have an opportunity here to allow the teachers to really look at both of those resources. So for the K2 pilot, Each pilot team will pilot both of the resources. At each grade level, there will be 2 teams piloting both of those resources. You can see on the screen the grade levels and then the schools that will be piloting. All of the teachers at the grade level will pilot together in a team, as we heard from their feedback. And then, of course, our special education teachers who support grades K2 will be included in the pilot. So how this will work for next year is that they will start out with Amplify CKLA, and they will do 4 units of that, and then they will transition into the new Super Kids version.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about the Eagleville pilot. So last school year, when we were laying out the pilot process, we met with the Eagleville teachers and Bill Plant, and we decided that instead of them doing the same pilot K2 and 3-5 the way the rest of the district was doing, because they're such a small school, they decided to wait and pilot together as a building during the same time as K2. So this is a little bit unique. They're piloting 3 different resources next school year. They're the exact same resources that the other elementary schools piloted. The kindergarten teacher will follow the exact same pilot process as the rest of the kindergarten teachers in the district, which will be really nice for her because then she will have a kindergarten cohort of teachers to work with. The 3rd grade teacher is going to pilot Amplify CKLA, and then she will go into the 4-5 split grade level teacher's classroom while she is piloting Benchmark Advance, so the 2 of them can compare with each other. Benchmark Advance is unique in that it already has laid out multi-age lesson plans. And so that's one of the reasons why Eagleville was interested in looking at that a little bit more. But again, they are also very interested in Amplify CKLA. So some of the work we might do is looking at the way Benchmark Advance structures multi-age and then seeing if we can make that work with Amplify CKLA. All right, so the next steps would be ordering the materials, summer training and planning work. So our instructional coaches are meeting with the K2 pilot teachers to get some planning time together with them before they have to pilot. We are setting up parent letters for the classrooms who are piloting. Those will go out in August after the class lists are set for the school year. We will also do a parent viewing night in September, so parents of the pilot students are welcome to come in and preview the resources. And then we will do evidence collection just like we always have of parents, students, teachers, instructional coaches, principals. And then our goal is to do a recommendation to the board in April of 2027.
Any questions?
All good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Nice job, Michelle. Student service topics.
All right, we have one more presentation tonight. Jen Tyson and Michelle Ziegler, who's staying put, are here to share their work from this school year with the Early Learning Technical Assistance Team. So this group of educators explored how we are serving our youngest learners and what we can do to grow our district's continuum of options for our 3 to 5 year olds.
Okay, so the purpose of this team was really to come together, like Christine said, and talk about how we could best service our youngest learners, so our 3 and 4 year olds, so 3 year olds and 4 year olds in 4K, as well as 5 year olds that are still in 4K. And what we can do to get them educated alongside their typically developing peers and help them to thrive and reach their unique potential. So this team included myself and Michelle, 2 special education teachers, 2 4K teachers, 2 speech and language pathologists, an OT, and a PT. So the reason why we engaged in this work is of our indicator 6 numbers. So as you can see there, our 6A as a district. So this, for all students, any age, 3 to 21, we have to report on where they are receiving their special education services. Our younger learners, it looks a little bit different. So we have to say how often they are with their typically developing peers. And in 23-24, that number came back at 7.8%, and the state goal is close to, it's over 36%. That number did go up for us this year. It's just not reported here, but it did go up to 29.7. So we definitely made strides in getting that number up, but we are currently still off on the state target. So we engaged with the Early Learning Technical Assistance Grant for Indicator 6 and 7. So Indicator 6 is the educational environments of preschool students ages 3 through 5, not yet in 4K. And Indicator 7 is the federal accountability that tracks the developmental progress of preschool children with IEPs in 3 areas. So those are positive social emotional skills, acquisition and use of knowledge and skills, and use of appropriate behaviors to meet needs. So the investments that we made this year then were professional conferences and related training expenses. And then it worked out very nicely that we were growing our 4K because we were able to provide inclusive classroom materials for District 4K programs to support students with disabilities. So Michelle and I were able to purchase things for all 10 of our in-house sites, our self-contained early childhood classroom, as well as some additional materials for our community sites. Future investments would be professional learning, where we would like to focus on collaboration, embedded service delivery, and high-quality goal writing, as well as additional classroom and therapy manipulatives for 4K programs, playgroups, and then our related service providers.
All right, so I learned a lot partnering with Jen on this, and I think one of my favorite parts of this was she took me on a field trip. She did a great job of networking with other school districts who are also in that early learning technical assistance program. So we went to Elmbrook and the Milton school districts to do some observations to just get to see what does this look like so that we can learn to try to implement that in our own system. I was overwhelmed with how kind and helpful and just over the top, the growth mindset of the people that we got to work with was amazing. They're super helpful. And so I think that was probably one of my favorite things because while we were there, we were able to ask the questions that we had that we probably wouldn't have known to ask if we hadn't gone to actually get to see things in action. But they were able to share their staffing structures. How did they implement this? How do they communicate with families? What are some of the resources? Just getting out and seeing the way another early childhood classroom is laid out was also really neat to see. And then as Jen mentioned, we had that grant money to use, and so it was nice to see, well, what are some ways, what are some things that the kids were actively using that we thought would benefit the students in our district as well. Some of the common shared themes across both of the districts, one, the inclusive learning opportunities that the kids were able to engage in, the very intentional peer interactions. We got to see the kids go into a giant gymnasium where they were all just running around, laughing and playing, chasing each other. I actually had told Jen afterwards that I wish they would have started the day with that because the kids really warmed up to each other at that point in the day, and then to have transferred them to the classroom to just get to see if those interactions would have been even stronger. It was just really neat to see. One of my favorite things was to witness the embedded supports. So one of the speech and language teachers came into the classroom and she sat down with a student in the home living area while all of the kids were playing, and she delivered her speech services through play. And so just a really neat thing to see, because it's one thing to hear about it or see it on paper, but to get to actually see it in action was really great. There's flexible service deliveries. There was a ton of collaboration with the staff coming in and out of the rooms. And then the just amount of participation and the sense of belonging that the kids had was really nice to see. Neither of the districts relied solely on the traditional pull-out services. Everything that we saw was embedded throughout the course of the time that we were there. And so they really emphasized that access to their peers.
Okay, so we're going to do a playgroup pilot in the 26-27 school year, which is what we were able to see when we went to Elmbrook and Milton. So at the beginning of the school year next year, we will pilot a playgroup that'll be launched at Clarendon. When I created this presentation, it was 2 students with IEPs. However, today, the early childhood teacher told me that it'll actually be 4 students. So we are going to say that they will cap at 5 students with IEPs, and then they would have 5 typically developing 3 or 4-year-olds that would also be a part of that program, so that our students with IEPs are then receiving their services alongside typically developing peers. That program would operate in 5 out of every 6 weeks, with the 6th week being dedicated to the collaboration and intentional planning as well as program refinement. And we would cycle through sets of peers. So this allows for peers to not have to give a full year commitment. So if they know they're going to be on vacation in December, they can choose to not be a peer in December. So that was something that we really liked when we went to observe in the Milton School District. Instruction will align with the scope and sequence of the proposed 4K curriculum, because the proposed 4K curriculum also has a 3K component that our special education teachers will be able to use. And it'll be led by an early childhood special education teacher with all related services embedded within the learning environment. Beyond that, we would really like to, in second semester, expand so that we have additional playgroups being offered at Clarendon next year. The goal is that in the 27-28 school year, we would be offering playgroups at Clarendon, Prairie View, and Big Bend, so that we're hitting kind of like all corners of the district, essentially. And we would be transitioning then away from our self-contained early childhood classroom so that we have a more inclusive service delivery. Right now, our 3-year-olds, that's the only option that we have for them, is to be educated only in that self-contained classroom with no typically developing peers. And we would provide instruction then through playgroups, targeted small group instruction, and social skills groups. And then those students identified, some of our students are identified as just speech and language students. They could also receive their services embedded within that playgroup. And then goals beyond the pilot. So we want to just continue to expand our inclusive early learning opportunities, really increase the participation of students in natural learning environments alongside their peers. We wanted to continue to embed specialized instruction through those play-based learning experiences, because we know that's how 3- and 4-year-olds truly learn best. We want to continue to strengthen collaboration among our educators, related service providers, and families for the planning for the playgroups, but also for IEP development and goal writing. And then we're going to develop sustainable staffing and models that support inclusion, improve our child outcomes, and then continue to increase performance on our early childhood indicators 6 and 7. Does anyone have any questions?
Carolyn.
Are we, as we expand into other schools, are we going to try to focus on what the kids' home schools will be, so when they do transition into 4K and then kindergarten, it's easier for their transition?
Yes, so that'll definitely happen for Big Bend and Prairie View. So if it is a Big Bend student, they would then receive services there, Prairie View as well. Section and Rolling Hills, we're still kind of trying to figure that out. If they probably would likely go to Prairie View or Clarendon. I'm not sure right now that we have enough students to put it in all 5 of the elementary sites. It could ultimately be a goal, but right now I just don't think we have enough of the students to do it.
Yeah, could you go back to slide 3 real quick? This is more of a request. I had no idea what those percentages meant, and I was going to ask, but you briefed exactly and answered my question. But if we're going to see this in 6 months or a year again, could you just add like a note that describes how you describe it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks.
Anybody else? Thank you very much. Policy, Joe?
They're on the agenda again tonight. If there's any additional questions, we'll be bringing them back for approval on Monday, the 15th.
Really got to bring them back.
Anyone? Jason?
You and I had spoke on the phone about the student fundraising, and I just wanted, just as a public record, just clarifying that this does not impact parent-run.
PTOs,
yeah.
not PTO, it's the things that the district has control over. The district never had control.
When the students are fundraising and it goes into.
Excuse me, Jason, what exactly is the question you're asking, please?
I was just asking for clarification on the student fundraising. Joe and I spoke on the phone about it because there was some concern that there was going to be board control over PTO monies and some different fundraising activities.
Is there a policy number you're discussing, Jason?
6608.
6608.
Thank you.
Yep. 6608 does not cover PTOs. 6608, and Tom did work with one of the PTOs on the understanding of this. that's for anything that the district has control over. So if the football team is going to do a fundraiser as a school football team, that would then be under the purview of the school district. But if it's a PTO, a support group like that, a booster club, those are outside groups that are direct support of certain things in our school district. No control over that money.
Thank you.
Good. Anybody else? All right, thanks. Moving on to action items. Hires, retirements, resignations.
All right, so we have had a busy month. We've got new contracts that were offered to 3 different staff. Sherry Greger, who's going to be a 5th grade teacher at Section Elementary School. Linda Lustig, who is a teacher of the visually impaired. This is a district-wide position, and I want to note that next week at the board meeting, Joe will present the agreement that we are hoping to enter into with the Wauwatosa School District for shared services. So more information to come on that. Emma Moss is a 4th grade teacher at Prairie View Elementary School, or slated to be. We've received several resignations. Olivia Crow, art teacher at Rolling Hills. Vicki Cummings, 3rd grade teacher at Rolling Hills. Drew Jensen, a science teacher at Mukwonago High School. Ashley Hafman, a German teacher at Parkview Middle School. And Jess Langer, a counselor at Rolling Hills Elementary School. And then we received 1 notice of retirement from Ingrid Schultz, who is the Dean of Students at Parkview Middle School. And then we have 2 changes in contracts. Jude Elliott, who is currently on a part-time contract, is moving to a full-time contract, and again, he is German. And then Clayton Burt is he's currently a limited term contract supporting at Rolling Hills right now, and he will be moving to a renewing contract.
You have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the hires, retires, and resignations as briefed.
Second.
And a second. Any discussion? Eric?
So I think this is the first time that I've seen a good chunk of numbers coming from one school. Are we tracking that, maybe if there's something going on in that building? I mean, 50% of them from Rolling Hills?
Yep, so we have a few different things that we track when we get resignations. So one is every resignation is offered an exit interview that they can do either face-to-face or electronically. We also, when a resignation is submitted, typically ask, like, what is the reason for the resignation? One of the things that we don't like is when people leave us for a different school district. But I would say typically, and then this is going to be part of the July presentation around staff retention, we're seeing people leave for reasons that are outside of education. They're either leaving education completely, they're going to take care of their families. And I would say that on this list, that is majority of what we're seeing.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anybody else? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Tom, sorry.
Yep, teacher compensation.
Teacher compensation, thank you.
So we're looking for approval to increase teacher salaries with what we discussed last week here. So that's a 2.63% for all returning teachers, along with an additional 0.24% for those teachers who are completing a 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, or 35-year year of service anniversary with the school district. Those folks get an additional $750 for completing those 5-year milestones. Total pot of compensation is 2.87% for returning eligible teachers.
Jake?
I just wanted to make it known that I'll be abstaining on this one.
I'll make a motion that we approve the teacher salaries by 2.63% for all returning teachers.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or concerns?
May I ask a clarifying question? Does that also include the supplemental pay?
Yes, and the supplemental pay, along with the additional 2.24% for the $750 5-year anniversary compensations.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I make a motion to end the open session and go into closed session.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Oh, I'm sorry. Do we have to have a roll call?
Do you have to read why we're doing it? Executive session.
Thank you. Executive session pursuant to Wisconsin Statute 19.85, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility.
Ready? Jason?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Jake?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Carolyn?
Yes.
Craig?
Yes.
Crosby, yes.
By the way, the graduation was phenomenal. It was so great. Thanks for everybody being there. Awesome. Best day of the year for school board members, as far as I'm concerned.